Good evening. We're going to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Woburn Zoning Board of Appeals to order. I would ask everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda this evening is a continuation from last month. It's the petition of Winchester Hospital and Anderson Estates LLC, seeking a modification of a variance at 200 West Cummings Park. I might have screwed that up. I apologize. At 345 Washington Street, which we continued from, it's been, I think, a couple months now, right, Mr.
Correct.
Charby?
Yep.
Okay. And we have received a request for leave to withdraw without prejudice, because it's your intent to refile a new petition next month, correct?
That is correct, yep.
Anything else you want to add to your letter?
Nope.
How does the board wish to proceed?
Make a motion to leave to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. But have we set the date for our March hearing? Let's do that.
I think you can do March 18th, that's the third week, third Wednesday.
Does that work for everybody? Okay. So this matter will be continued until March 18th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is similarly a continuation from last month. This is the petition of Jim Bialowski and Nancy Panza as trustee of the Panza Family Trust. That was a petition seeking a special permit and a variance in connection with additions at 8 Day Circle. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, members. For the record, Attorney James Giuliano Law Group, 607 Main Street. I have been retained by the homeowner to take this on, so we are going to be respectfully withdrawing the application and refiling.
All right, and so you are also requesting leave for withdrawal without prejudice?
For both the special permit and the variance, correct.
How does the board wish to proceed with this?
Motion to leave to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, so do you have any idea when you're going to refile?
I'm speaking to them tomorrow, so we'll try to get on for March. There's some things we gotta.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's enough time, actually. But in any event, you know when the
We're
March
close.
hearing will be.
We're busy, so.
Okay, thank you. The
Madam Chair, just the first one was the leave to withdraw without prejudice.
Correct, yes. Next item on the agenda is the petition of Aaron Banker, 108 Arlington Road, seeking a special permit to raise an existing detached garage and build a new one at 108 Arlington Road. Welcome back.
Very much, Madam Chairwoman. Again, for the record, Attorney James Giuliano Law Group, 607 Main Street, here in Woburn, on behalf of the petitioner, Aaron Banker, who is here tonight, in case the board does have any questions. As Madam Chairwoman suggested, we are applying for a special permit for under Section 7.3 to allow the raising of the existing 20 by 20 structure and reconstruction of a new structure for the purposes which, this is the first in ADU under special permit, so.
Thank you. You are the inaugural
Yes. Lucky me.
ADU application
Lucky me.
before us.
So we are asking, obviously, for the board to approve this under Section 7.3. Now, as far as a little bit of history goes, the property consists of a single-family residence with an accessory structure that's on-site, located in an R2 zoning district. It contains just a little bit over 7,000 square feet of area and 52 feet of frontage. The home and garage were built circa 1940. Both structures are non-conforming. The lot is obviously non-conforming as well. Right now, the garage, what it is being used for, hugs the lot line and actually encroaches on the rear part of the lot line, so it is encroaching on the property. My client bought the property back in August of 2025. His intention is to start rehabbing the property, starting with this structure and then moving on to the house to kind of get it up. This is his first house. He's excited. He tends to be a longtime Woburn resident, and this is his first step. If the board recalls, we did a couple similar projects, one notably down the street at 68 Arlington Road about a year ago. That structure was 26 by 40. A little bit different only because at the time ADUs were non-existent. They are brand new, as we know. But the composition of the petition is similar. Detached garages, carriage houses, especially along Arlington Road, are very prominent. You look at 7 Arlington Road, 32 by 24, 9 Arlington Road, 30 by 40, 68, as I mentioned, 26 by 40. The proposed structure will comply with all setbacks and height requirements except for that side setback. Obviously, we're taking the side setback that hugs and even encroaches onto the neighbor's property, and we're moving it away from the side lot line 2 feet, which obviously improves the setback. So not only does that alleviate the encroachment, I think it provides safety for the neighbors, just so you're not so far away. It's a little bit, albeit, but it is better, light, just that little extra room for the neighbors, so it is a little bit better. The first floor, obviously, of the garage space, obviously adds parking, which takes it off of the driveway, which creates parking. So, and if you've gone by the site at this point, it is a rather dilapidated, rundown structure. So he's looking to rebuild that nicely. So the new structure is substantially not more detrimental to the neighborhood, as I suggested, especially with all the other carriage houses and garages that are out there. We are improving a possible title defect and pushing the property, the structure off of the lot line. So, under the new state law, obviously, as I'm sure you're all aware, the ADU passed as a by right. And I would argue in favor of the board that it doesn't necessarily give away powers. But I think it does say that the mere presence of a second household, we can't factor that into the substantially more detrimental. So, for example, I know a lot of the factors that we come back to when we decide whether a non-conforming structure is substantially detrimental is sort of things that happen to do with housing, like water and sewer, and are people going to be living there? Are we dealing with traffic? I would argue that those sort of factors are limited because of the ADU. But otherwise, as far as the structure goes, the board has full powers within the ordinance. So that being said, I think I've mentioned our proposed structure will alleviate the encroachment, alleviate a nonconformity, it'll create additional parking, and it'll strictly match with the neighborhood based on what I gave you for the neighboring property. So again, substantially not detrimental to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Giuliano. I have some questions, though, because I think, unfortunately, I don't believe that the application has given the board all the information it needs. My particular concern is so that when the city enacted its ordinance, we just copied the definitions from the state. And the definition of the gross floor area specifically incorporates a reference to the ceiling height under the building code. And so the building commissioner was kind enough to give me a tutorial on that. And I don't know that any of the material, so the material you submitted includes the assessor's, I don't even know what they call this form.
Assessor's card.
Okay, we'll call it the assessor's card, which has a table on it that lists gross area and also living area. I do not know if the assessor, when it calculates either of these, gross area or living area, if it incorporates the definition of ceiling height that's in the building code. And I think that might be an issue with the basement. So as I understand it, when I look at your application seems to represent that the gross floor area of the primary structure, the residence, is 2,448 square feet, because that's the sum of all of the parts that are on the assessor's card. But the ADU statute expressly excludes enclosed porches and similar, areas. So I don't think you can count the open porch. It allows the basement, I hope I'm not screwing this up. It allows the basement to be included, but it excludes the attic. And so
Correct.
I don't think your math works. I think it's close, but I think it's a little off. And there's no way for the board to confirm that any of these numbers that we're relying on satisfy the ceiling height definition.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. So when I talked to Commissioner Quinn about this, this point, this has to be submitted to Commissioner Quinn under the ordinance and under 761 CMR 760 CMR 71, which is the code that defines the accessory dwelling units. That is completely up to the building commissioner. So what'll end up happening logistically is that jurisdiction of the ADU falls 100% on the building commissioner. Now, what will end up happening is my client, like everyone else, will have to submit a building permit with plans, and he will have to do the calculations on the primary resident to show that what he is proposing for his ADU matches up with the square footage. So that will all be done, but it'll be done in the building department under their strict jurisdiction. So, but your analysis is correct. I'm just arguing that it's not within the Board of Appeals to make that determination. It's within the building commissioner. But your analysis is spot on.
Okay. All right. So then my other question, and this is so for, I don't know if it's been almost as long as I've been on the board, but Member Parrish can correct me if I'm wrong. So I'll give you my personal view. So this is a very substantial addition that's going to have, strike that, it's a very substantial structure, a new structure, a garage with living space above it. So for many, many years, when people have appeared before the board seeking a special permit for a garage in a pre-existing non-conforming setting like this one, and the proposed garage, oftentimes it's like, well, it's going to be 3 feet from the lot line. In the past, the board has had concerns. There's a difference, I think, between having a garage that's just going to store vehicles 3 feet from the lot line and a garage that's going to have living space 3 feet from the lot line. And the question I always say is, well, gee, so this is an instance where the garage was right on the lot line. And I don't know who the neighbors are, but the neighbors that are there now may not be the neighbors that are there next year. And if a neighbor says, yeah, you know what, I want some privacy, and I'm going to install a 6-foot fence right on the property line, that only leaves 2 feet for emergency personnel to access that side of the structure, and there's going to be people living there. So I've always viewed it a little differently. I am personally tend to be more lenient, or maybe less strict is a better way to say it, if it's just a garage without living space. And this is the first instance, in a new regulatory environment where I'm kind of faced with that same question. And I feel like there was one other question I had about this, particularly with the parking, I guess it was. So how is the parking going to work for the existing structure and the ADU?
So and again, I don't think it, for the purposes of the regulation ordinance, it matters because it ends up being a separate structure with parking. But I think the intent is to basically, take mostly his vehicles and use them. And then obviously the ADU has to be separate from the garage space.
So,
separate
but
entrance.
where is the, so the regulations say, if you're gonna have an ADU, you have to have a parking space.
Yep.
Where's the ADU parking? Is it the garage? Is it, where is it?
Well, it doesn't substantiate where, but my client's driveway has about, probably could fit 4 to 5 cars easily. So they could use the driveway, or they could use a garage spot. So I would say with the garage space, you're fitting, we'll say conservatively two cars and then another. So he could probably fit about, conservatively 6 to 7 cars on that property. So it doesn't discern where under the ADU statute or regulation in the ordinance. But again, I just think that it's tough for the board, right? It's tough because it's the first, especially this is the first one.
Absolutely.
But
And
I-
how many bedrooms are in the existing structure?
The existing structure, I believe, is 2 bedrooms? 2 bedrooms. And this, obviously, the ADU will be 1 bedroom.
Sure.
But I think, sorry to interject,
Of course.
I think what would be the problem for not just this board, but every board concerning, a structure and really taking the structure for just the structure and taking out those elements of substantially detrimental. And to be candid with you, I don't think the state thought that through when this was drafted. So, we are here and we have to deal with it together, but I think a board, not this board, a board is probably, when they start thinking about, making a determination based on the habitability, I think that's where trouble might start. But it's tough. I'm envious of being in
Sure.
issues.
And let me ask if there's any other members of the board have any questions.
That stone retaining wall, that seems like part of it's gonna be taken down, is that there for just aesthetics, or is it like holding in dirt or anything like that?
It's a retaining wall, yeah. So obviously this structure will go more to the left. It'll be into the, and hence the, our height restrictions are under the ordinance. They conform to our ordinance. But yeah, so it'll be kind of like, I don't know if you want 68, where we sort of built it into the hill. So what that does, obviously, is that creates a better situation because it's not overpowering. It kind of melts in with the hill, but that's going to sort of be used as, the structure will be used sort of as a retaining wall for that section.
We receive an additional drawing of the front elevation.
The additional drawing was the front page, and the only change, as I mentioned, was the calculation my client had was incorrect. It was, he put the footprint of 896. The ADU is actually proposed at 799. And then the impervious area was then incorrect. So we decreased the impervious area, or changed the impervious area and decreased the ADU. And again, for the purposes of this application, it's not relevant, but as I like to do for everything, keep all the plans together. That way, when a building permit's issued, there's no discrepancies with City Council and Board of Appeals.
Right.
Did you drop off a new drawing of that tonight? Because
No, I dropped it off, I had a cover letter.
I just want to make sure we have that. I can't
Dated
find that on my
Feb-
email.
I'm not familiar with that.
February 9th.
Was that something that was emailed?
Dropped off hard copy.
Put it on the desk, Gordon?
Yes, it's on the desk right here.
I just recall getting a, here it is here. So much paperwork.
Yes, there is a
on
lot
my
of
desk
paperwork.
today. I had another question as well, and let's say you're going to build an ADU. What are the setbacks, side setbacks right now? Is it 12 feet, or is
Are we
it
talking about conforming?
Let's say just-
brand
yeah,
new conforming or
brand new.
non-conforming?
brand new?
Brand new? Yeah, so it's a setbacks of an accessory structure, so
So,
same thing, so
be 12 feet.
4 feet, 12 feet, yeah.
It was my understanding that the position of the new ADU, or garage, if you will, would be our responsibility, but whether or not that gets passed, that'll go through the city council, is that right?
For what?
I mean, you're allowed an ADU by right,
Correct.
right? But
but not necessarily in this location.
Right.
Well, yeah, because.
However, you have an existing situation that you can, and I certainly understand you can build an apartment above the ADU garage, but
Yeah, so I think, and it's unclear, but there is language in Section 35 and the CMR that is carved out for nonconformities. And I think basically what it says is, you know, after hours of reading everything about that CMR and the ordinance, if you have an accessory structure that's nonconforming, you can put an ADU in that structure as a matter of right, as it sits.
Yeah, but you're not doing that.
Correct, which is why we're here for the special permit, just like we would for any other accessory
Mm-hmm.
structure. So I think our process.
well, correct, but let's just say you wanted something a brand new one, 2 feet, then you need a variance for that. Would you, for an ADU?
For a brand-new ADU, I mean, if this is a brand-new empty lot, and we
Correct.
wanted to put it 2 feet from the lot line, yeah, we need a variance. But we're
For
dealing
an
with an
ADU? For just an ADU?
well, you gotta treat it as an accessory structure under the ordinance. So an ADU is clearly defined as an accessory structure under the ordinance. So if you have a fresh piece of parcel, then you have to adhere to the zoning ordinance. But this is obviously not, because it's an existing non-conforming lot, existing non-conforming structure.
Sure, so our ordinance provides that the setbacks for an attached strike that. The setbacks for a detached ADU within a legal non-conforming home and a pre-existing legally non-conforming structure shall be no more restrictive than is required for the principal dwelling or an accessory structure in the zoning district. So because garages can be located within 4 feet of the rear lot line, right, we couldn't say, well, you know, you need to take it away further than 4 feet from the rear lot line. But there is no right to place a garage within the side setback. And I recognize you're improving the nonconformity. I'm struggling with it being 2 feet from the lot line, because that's how I've always treated these.
Yeah.
And I also, it's not really clear to me. So you've submitted these plans to the board, and, you know, I appreciate you being upfront, saying, yeah, it's for an ADU, and it's as of right. But I'm 95% sure that your math is wrong, and that you're asking for approval to locate this particular ADU with these plans of this size in this particular location, and your math's incorrect. So even if I didn't have an issue or concern with it being 2 feet from the side lot line, I feel constrained as an official of the city from approving something that I know the math is not right. Even if you say, well, it really doesn't matter to you, it only matters what the building commissioner thinks. So I frankly don't know what to do with this. And when I spoke with the building commissioner, we didn't discuss this idea of, well, the math and the computation of the square area, that's just for the building commissioner to decide. It's not really, what in the ordinance are you relying on to take that position?
So, to take what, the position of?
That it's not really the board's,
Oh.
The board doesn't have authority to question the math.
Well, the regulation and the ordinance give the authority to the building commissioner in the express language of the regulation. And to just reiterate and kind of follow up with what your concern is, I think that's why we have that check and balance, especially with the city.
Sure, where in the, but what are you looking at? Because I have the city ordinance and the reg.
I go to the regulation because it's a little bit more thorough, but there is language built into it that gives the authority to the building commissioner as far as the accessory dwelling unit. Now, with the check and balance I was about to mention is, if my client, for example, tries to get a building permit and his math is incorrect, you're correct. He's going to get a denied building permit. He's not going to be able to build the structure.
Sure.
Therefore, we either come in for, depending on how much we have to adjust, a minor modification,
Sure.
or file a new application. And that's the check and balance. And I think it may happen, in general, but I think that's the check and balance that sort of detaches the board from worrying about that issue.
All right, and so where in the reg do you believe that,
I think it's at the beginning, and I apologize, by the time I get this up and running, but it mentions that in the, as far as an accessory dwelling unit, it mentions building departments, building inspectors, building commissioners, as far as the authority. And I think, Commissioner Quinn can obviously corroborate that as well. But that's the check and balance anyways, because if he's going for a building permit as a matter of right use, the ADU, he's going to get denied a building permit because his math is incorrect. It's like anything else, if things change, we have to come back in front of the respectable board, file and go for a modification. So I think
All
it's
right.
the same.
and the additional page that was submitted that I did have, I had clipped it to a different application, so.
It looks the same, it's just the,
Yeah, so I did have that.
Yeah.
So that additional page has different calculations as to impervious area and something else. Does that impact the calculations that are on the certified plot plan regarding the lot coverage and open space?
it does not. The site plans are accurate, it's just the calculations that were on that front page were inaccurate. So it only changes the purpose of the ADU. The reason why we have the impervious in there, I know it may sound irrelevant, but this is actually in the groundwater protection district. So whenever, sure most people do this, but whenever my clients are in the groundwater protection district, we make sure that we do the calculations to make sure that we don't have to file for a special permit in front of city council. That was the purpose of those that impervious calculation.
And what did the city council decide in connection with the request to have the oversized garage doors?
So we continued, and there was no strong or any opposition actually last night at the meeting. There'll be attached conditions that, relating to other things other than the garage door, like no business shall be run out of there, anything that obviously can be attached and enforced. But there was no opposition at all last night.
All right, let me ask, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for a special permit at 108 Arlington Road?
Can I ask an additional question? So let's just say that the building commissioner says no on the square footage of this. You come back, with the new size, the correct size that it's supposed to be. Will it still be in the same place on the lot, or would it be able to be over a little bit?
So
I'm just hypothetical.
it depends, but I will say this: if the calculations are wrong and not in favor of my client, then it'll be a smaller structure. It'll just be manipulating. Obviously the structure is where it is because you have to pull up a driveway that's existing, and if you go further off the lot line, which I was going to mention, you really can't make the swing. That's why it's in its ideal location. So I don't know the answer to that, but things will change and we'll reapply, as we have to. So.
Just one more quick hypothetical for you. Suppose an ADU was built on where the existing garage is, then you wouldn't need a special permit at all, correct? It'd just be, like you said, a building inspector, commissioner that would adjudicate that?
We took that existing structure, put some new clapboard on it, and put an ADU on it. There was no relief. We'd get a building permit and put it as a matter of right. That's correct.
All right, well, so as you know, I'm often voted 4-1. Any further discussion of the location of the proposed new garage?
Just one question, if I may. So the distance between the new structure and the back of the house, so overall, I see it's 17 feet 8 inches. Do you know the distance between the garage and the end of the porch?
The porch of my client or the,
The existing, the existing dwelling?
Right, because it says 21.5 to the actual dwelling, but there's a porch on the back there, so it doesn't have that distance.
yeah, so I can tell you this, it has to be so many feet from the structure from that in order to get a building permit, so it'll be pursuant to the ordinance. But it's, the porch, I think it's a patio if I remember correctly anyways, because there's steps going down to it, from what I recall. I was there the other day, I think that's a patio. Yeah, so it's not a structure, it's not like a raised deck or anything, it's just dirt
Right,
pavers.
so I mean, that gap's not being closed.
No, nothing is being done to the house at all, it's just the,
No, I mean, the gap between the garage and the...
oh, correct, no.
Okay.
Nope.
yeah,
That,
just,
that
again,
distance is the
thinking of
distance. Yeah, I mean, it's really not a porch. it should
Emergency
be-
access, I mean, they can at least get in that way.
Just on the distance from the side, I'm not as concerned as our chair. I think the 2 feet there, just looking at 110 Arlington Road, I guess my issue would have been that, all right, they were able to build one 2 feet from, so now you've got 2 units 4 feet from each other, and then we start looking like a Malden or a Medford, and, you know. But it appears that your neighbor on that side will have to abide by the 12-foot side, as far as I can tell from the aerial drawing.
That's correct.
How does the board wish to proceed?
Struggling because of the size. And I know that, yes, it might come down to, that it'll change, but
So, I mean, I tell every applicant, right? Your plans need to be accurate. You're gonna live and die by these plans. And these plans are not accurate. They're close to accurate, but they're not accurate, even if we rely on the, you know, if we rely on the basement and first floor measurements. Assuming you're going to be able to have a plan that shows that the basement complies with the compliant, whatever it is, compliant ceiling
Ceiling height,
height in the building code. So I'm just not comfortable voting in favor of this because I feel pretty certain that the math isn't correct. And I really don't see, and you know, you may be right, and maybe a practice will develop, but I don't really see anything in the regs that would prohibit the board in connection with a request for a special permit for the location of the ADU to insist upon knowing that the math has been done correctly.
So if I'm hearing correctly, the hesitation is based on the math of the...
I have two hesitations. I think it's too close to the lot line, and even apart from the math, I don't think I'd vote in favor of it.
yeah.
But I certainly do not want to establish precedent that people can file incorrect applications with the zoning board and with the thought of, well, we'll just fix it later. because, and it's, I'm treating this application the same I treat every other single application for special permit. Your plans need to be correct, and if you can't correct them and come back. So I don't think, because it's an ADU, I don't think we have to apply a more lenient standard, I guess is the way I'm saying it.
And I would respectfully disagree with that. I think
Sure.
that's what the ADU is built for. I think if we were to apply for a building permit for a 900 square foot ADU and we were denied to build that structure to hold that ADU, I think there's going to, there's challenges with the city. And I think that's the whole purpose of the ADU, create housing as a matter of right, put it in the hands of the building commissioner that has the authority to determine that calculation, which I don't think that an applicant will just go up and say, oh, we'll just change it later. I mean, this is time and money that they have to
Oh, I
change.
completely understand, and I don't disagree with you. It's supposed to be very straightforward and easy.
Yeah.
But if it's that easy, then why not do the math the right way on the calculations?
Well, and that's what Commissioner Quinn indicated. That's what his job is to make sure of, and that shouldn't be and I had this conversation, I'm sure he'll tell you too, that it shouldn't really be the topic of conversation for a special permit or anything, because it falls within the hands of the building commissioner.
Sure, but do you really think the zoning board's not going to point out, like, an obvious inaccuracy?
If they know about the inaccuracy, I don't think they can make a determination based on a special permit because of that inaccuracy, because it's an ADU. And I think that's the purpose of the reg.
Yeah, but it's not an unreasonable thing to expect the math to be. It's not unreasonable. The regs prohibit unreasonable regulation and some unreasonable restrictions. I don't think, and we're getting kind of into an academic
Yeah.
conversation here.
Fun, but that's okay.
But I think it's too close to the lot line because it's going to have living space above it. I don't think it's safe from a fire access or emergency personnel access. But I'm just one person, so.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think when you get into denying a special permit because of the status of habitability is the problem, and that's why this whole thing was set up. The board is to look at is the structure substantially more detrimental than what is there? We're moving it off the lot line, so I would say no. Now, if I would, in your defense, say if we're capped at 900 square feet, but our structure is 3 times the 900 square feet, that's unreasonable. That should be regulated by a special permit and possibly maybe denied. But we are holding the minimum amount of square footage allowed under the ADU. It's not like the structure is going to has the capability of holding a 3,000 square foot structure garage. This is built for 900. And I understand that you may think the math is wrong. We think it's right. But again, I just caution the board, and I think that's what Commissioner Quinn articulated to us, that's within his purview.
Oh, I don't disagree that it's within his purview. My suggestion, though, is that it's not within his sole purview when you're submitting these plans to the board with these calculations. And you make a fair point on the issue of whether it's a habitable structure or not. But again, I'm treating this the way I've treated every application for a large garage very close to a lot line that's going to have somebody living in it. So, but in any event, I feel like I've taken up enough time. How does the I'm sorry.
I don't know if the counselor has, would you, if we just continue this and then you work on that math and change whatever you needed to change around,
I think Commissioner Quinn would agree that regardless of the math, that's what his job is to do, and I think he wants to keep them separate, keep the special permit separate from.
So if there's one slight little change from what he comes up, then you'll be back to this board?
If the math is wrong, yeah, because he's
So
not
you
going to.
wouldn't want to continue it to
Well, I mean, if
square that away and then
because, well, what'll end up happening is some applicants, will be applying for building permits months in advance, ahead of or I should say, after the special permit. So I think to continue until a building permit is issued or is
I don't think
Not
that's
until
what,
it's issued, but just until it's double checked and the math is checked with the building commissioner.
Yeah, and again, I would just argue because there's other logistics of going to city council and holding that up, and there's a lot of hardship that my client would have to do in order to do that. I think that I would like to keep them separate, and again, just reiterate that if we have to change anything, we have to come back, just like any other petition in the city.
What's the current square footage of the garage that's on there?
It's 400 square feet with a loft area.
So this is,
20 by
I mean,
20
according
by
to the
20.
896, it's almost double the current garage.
So it's an ADU with the garage, which
But you're
again,
starting from scratch. You're not like taking the existing garage and just turning that into an ADU.
no, we're reconstructing an existing nonconformity.
how does the board wish to proceed?
Well, I kind of agree with both of you, and certainly, it's happened many, many years ago where there was something off, and, building commissioners, these aren't the right drawings, there's a window or something. I know he can change things now, but, and then people would just have to come back, and then you might have to go back to the city council again, and then, but yeah, I mean, I'm willing to make a motion to support this petition tonight. I think it is, like, as Counselor said, not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Detrimental maybe, but substantially detrimental? I don't know. But I don't know if anybody else wanted to weigh in.
I would support it as well.
Is that a second?
I don't know if the motion is on the floor.
Let me make a motion then. I make a motion in favor of the petition as filed this evening, the drawings and evidence given to us today. Make a motion and support it.
Second.
All in favor of the pending motion? Opposed? I have the feeling we'll be seeing you again.
Thank you. Well, in a couple minutes, I have another.
But all this is going to the recycling bin for me.
The next item on the agenda is the petition of Cosmo Prosciutto, trustee, seeking a variance from the front yard setback in connection with building an addition and a reduction in the front yard setback to build a detached garage at 52 Tremont Street.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Joseph Tabby, Reuben Redmond, on behalf of the petitioner. Before we get started, I'd like to submit several documents, one being the topo plan, one being the deed and plan of record, assessors map, and then definitions from the Woburn zoning ordinance as to street and corner lot, and then a petition in favor of the variances.
Have we had any of this material submitted before?
You have the assessors map, and I believe you have the topo. I'm going to reference these in my presentation.
Okay.
Yes, yep, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, did you get it open?
I didn't, is it,
Oh, here I go. Taking your life in your hands doing that.
It's actually counterintuitive. There you go. Okay, the petitioner has requested two variances from section 6.1 of the zoning ordinance. The first variance is to allow for a reduction in the front yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet to allow for a single-story addition to the existing dwelling. And the second is to allow for a variance from 25 feet to 12.3 feet for a new garage. Property's located in a R1 zoning district at 52 Tremont Street in Woburn. So before I address the reasons for granting the requested variances, I'd just like to provide some background information. So with me this evening is Mr. Bijutto, his daughter Joanna, and son Carl. Mr. Bijutto has owned a custom machine located in Woburn at 30 Nashua Street for 30 years and has been in business for 60 years in the city of Woburn. He purchased 52 Tremont Street in order to relocate his handicapped wife from their Gloucester home to be closer to his business, which is around the corner at 30 Nashua Street. His son, who lives one house away, and daughter, who lives in Winchester. We submitted with the application building plans. The one-story addition will provide for a bedroom and a bathroom on the first floor, some modifications to the kitchen that can be easily accessed by Mrs. Bijutto. The existing house, as you can see from the building plan, has one bathroom on the second floor and all the bedrooms on the second floor. The setback of the single-story addition, as shown on the plot plan, is proposed to be 20 feet at its shortest side. In addition, the proposed garage will be set back 12.3 feet from the right side of the property. So on the plot plan, there's a private way that's shown on that plan that we submitted with the variance petition that is 15 feet wide, according to the city of Woburn records. As such, it's technically a corner lot according to the building commissioner. Since it's considered a corner lot, the setbacks along Boston Street are required to be 25 feet and not 12 feet. If the setback requirement remained at 12 feet for the side, if it was considered the side yard setback, the one-story addition would be at 20 feet in full compliance and the garage at 12.3 feet in full compliance. When the petitioner purchased the property, deed to the property and the plan of record, I have submitted a copy of the deed, did not reference the paper street, but land now formerly of B&C Realty Trust that built the industrial park behind the property, 50 feet down from the rear of this property on Draper Street. So when you look at the dimensional requirements of the dwelling in the R2 zone, the lot size requirement is 12,000 square feet. This lot has 13,252 square feet. Front yard setback requirement is 25 feet. This lot has 26.2 feet. And the side yard setback is 12 feet. And this setback, if you look at the right side as the side yard, setback 27.2. And on the left side, it's 19.9 feet. And what's proposed is 20 on the right, 20.3 for the garage, and there's 22 feet on the left side of the house. The rear yard setback, 30 feet's required. This has 151.8 feet, and what's proposed is 127.6 feet. Building ground coverage, you're allowed 25%. The existing dwelling occupies 9.6%, and the proposed with the addition would be 18.5%. Less than the 25%. Usable open space, 50% is required. The existing dwelling is 82.1%, and the proposed is 67.4%. So the documents I submitted, the first one entitled Public Map, just so you can, where the property is. To the left of this plan, it shows 52 Draper Street. And this is the topography plan showing the topography at the, right at Tremont Street in front of the house, drops down to 56 feet and 48 feet along Draper Street behind the property. The second document is the deed that I just mentioned that does not indicate there's any paper street, but that it's by land now a formerly of B&C Realty Trust, and we also show the record. The next document shows you the lot, the abutting lot to the right. So there's a 15-foot paper street. To the right of that is 54 Tremont Street, which also has a private private drain easement that goes along that property. And if you look at the definitions under the zoning ordinance, we start with street, private way in existence when the subdivision law became effective in the city. Okay, and this was shown on a 1856 plan. So it was in existence when the subdivision law became effective.
The private way was on the plan?
It's funny, at some point back in the late 1800s, it showed Boston Street going all the way to the tracks. Then it disappeared and then reappeared. So on today's maps, it does show as Boston Street. So that way, in the opinion of the planning board, is sufficient width, suitable grades, and adequate construction to provide for the needs of vehicular traffic in the installation of municipal services. So we have a way that's 15 feet wide. Planning board rules and regulations require 40 to 50 feet right-of-way width. There are only 2 lots that are on either side of this paper street, which drops down at the end of the paper street. There's a cliff that drops down to the industrial area on Draper Street. In addition, corner lot is a lot at the junction of and fronting on 2 or more intersecting streets. So technically, with Boston Street being shown as a paper street, it's a street that building commissioners determined is a corner lot. So we feel that, based on the shape of the lot, the topography of the lot that leads to a cliff dropping down close to 50 feet at the end of the paper street, in a location that abuts a paper street that does not meet city of Woburn standards, will never be developed as a street, prohibits development consistent with the zoning ordinance, and as such, we believe the best requirements for the board to grant the variance. So when you look at the lot is an odd shape that narrows at the midpoint of the lot. The elevation to the rear of the existing dwelling drops down at least 2 feet. So where we propose the addition is the best place for the addition. You go to the rear of the lot, that's at 98 feet, dropping down to 56 feet and 48 feet on Draper Street. In addition, this lot, as I said, lots of 15-foot wide strip of land listed in the city records as Boston Street, which terminates at the end of the lot down to Draper Street. So given the width of Boston Street at 15 feet and the drop in elevation at Boston Street, that'll never be used as a street because it doesn't meet city of Woburn requirements. This causes a hardship for the petitioner. Further, the building commissioner's position that the lot is a corner lot with frontage on Tremont Street and said Boston Street also imposes a hardship on the petitioner. As a result, a 25-foot setback is required rather than the 12-foot setback which is required under the zoning ordinance. This were a side yard setback. So, but for the Boston Street issue, the setbacks for the addition would be 20 feet and 12.3 feet. Both would be in full compliance with the required 12-foot setback. Further, we did submit a petition that was signed by a number of the residents in the area in support of the petition. So we feel that the relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. Except for an abutting street, the dwelling meets all the dimensional regulations required under the zoning ordinance, a single-family dwelling, in a single-family zoning district. Further, the grant of the variances will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. So on behalf of my client, I would respectfully request approval of the variances.
Thank you, Mr. Tarby. So the topographical map that you submitted really shows the extreme, it is a cliff, we all know it's a cliff. But it looks like the cliff is not on this property. There's only three topo lines on lot 52. And so the big massing, the big, change in elevation is behind the lot.
Well, it does go, if you look at the topo line, it does start at 92, there's a 94, and then at the rear of the lot, okay, you see the 98 sort of squiggles up over the end of the lot, dropping down to Draper Street.
Right, but the topography did not, the house and the existing garage were able to be built no problem, despite the issues with the topography, because it's not that bad at the front of the lot.
Well, if you look at the rear of the property, it does drop down from 94 to 92. There's a 2-foot drop, and we did submit pictures of the existing garage, which is located closer than the 12 feet to the lot line. We're proposing a new garage that would be 12.3 feet from the lot line.
And then, I asked this question of everybody. So if the addition were 5 feet smaller, you wouldn't need a variance, right? You'd be able to comply with the 25-foot front yard setback?
Well, you'd have to move it in, I guess, 5 more feet, but, we've worked with an architect to make that all handicap accessible, and this was the best layout that they recommended.
And are there any bedrooms on the first floor?
As of right now, there are no bedrooms on the first.
And with the addition, will there
The
be?
addition, yes, there'll be the bedroom for Mr. and Mrs. Pasciuto.
Okay,
It's on page 14 of the building plans.
thank you. Yep, got it, thank you.
Shows the addition of the bathroom. There's no bathrooms on the first floor.
All right, let me ask, any other members of the board have any questions?
Yes, just looking at the property and this paper street, isn't it someone's driveway now?
No, it's,
Next door neighbor?
it's just wooded. It's, you have 52 Tremont Street, and you have the paper street that's, with trees along that, then you have the driveway on the other side of that for,
Okay, so that little patch between the two driveways is just this image, it's a little confusing. It looks like the private way is number 54's driveway.
yeah, so it's 54, no, that's, not to be confused. That's a private drain easement that goes over 54 Tremont Street. To the left of that.
Okay, okay, so that, yeah, where there is currently some pine trees or whatever.
That paper street's not really like concrete. Trees and such.
And there's no, and actually, when I looked at this the other day, I thought there was something on here about needing to use the private way to access the new garage. That's not happening, correct? Okay, all right.
So they pull in, sorry, they pull into the garage on Tremont Street?
So you'll the new garage, you'll access it from Tremont Street.
Okay.
I just had a couple, like you said, if that private way wasn't there, you wouldn't even be here tonight, correct?
It's not gonna be built. I
Right. I mean,
actually
you're-
ran into Mr. Cashel before this meeting, and he said, absolutely not would the planning board ever approve a 15-foot right-of-way.
Never know, this board just approved some drawings that may not be correct, but you never know.
Plus,
You'd
it's
think
plus
54
the
might,
the only properties that abut the paper street are 54 and 52 Tremont Street.
54's got a lot of area back there, it looks like, but I'll take your word for it, it'll never be built upon. And which leads me to another, when we received our agenda for this evening, it was noted that it was two front yard setbacks, and you've already explained it, and when I opened it up over the weekend, I looked at it, I understood it as well, but I was just wondering whether or not 54 Tremont actually knew that it's gonna be on their side of their lot line. Yeah, well, anybody looking at this might sign your thing and say, yeah, we approve it because they're building up front, you know, as we don't care, but, this is.
You're in attendance, so.
You are, okay. I was just making sure that this is actually getting closer to your, okay. That's all I had, thank you.
All right, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for two variances from the front yard setback, Tremont Street? If you could approach the rail, and if you could provide your name and address, please.
Timothy Nixon, I'm at 54, next door to Mr. Pizzuto. Mainly, I'm here to say that I'm in favor of the project. I think he's been in touch with me about the project and process since he acquired the land last year, so I think it's a tasteful upgrade to an older home that's going to keep the character, and it'll be a welcome addition to our neighborhood. And regarding the private way, it's literally trees, rocks, and vegetation. And my driveway's elevated next door, so it's down there. It just doesn't get used. But I don't ever envision a motorist that would need, visual clearance at an intersection of a corner lot. So, yeah, I think it's a technicality, and I hope that he gets approved.
Thank you. Anyone else who cares to be heard? Go ahead.
I had a hard time, I was over there today, I had a hard time figuring out where was the other front, because visually, it doesn't seem like a front lot, a side, that'd have two sides of the front.
When you're on a
Yeah.
corner lot, both sides are considered front.
Yeah, but that, I understand your argument because I couldn't see it, and the topography of that whole street is, I think it's like 56 or something, that's way up on the top of the hill, and, so, I did see the cliff behind, too, so, yeah, I understand, it's just kind of an odd thing that, I guess technically, it is a corner lot, but
So under the zoning, it is a corner lot.
How does the board wish to proceed?
Make a motion to approve the variance.
Second?
All in favor? That passed. As you know, a decision needs to be prepared and filed with the clerk before a building permit will issue. You're welcome.
That was a 5-0 vote, Madam Chair?
It was. The next item on the agenda is the petition of 20 Franklin Street Realty Trust seeking a variance in connection with a rear yard setback to reduce it from 30 feet to 15 feet to raise and rebuild a 30-family home at 20 Franklin Street.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. Again, for the record, Attorney James Giuliano Law Group, 607 Main Street here in Woburn, on behalf of the petitioner. We would request that we open the public hearing and then continue to the next hearing on March 18th, I believe it was said. We're just working on some calculations, and see, we don't take a variance lightly, so we're going to continue if that's okay with the board.
Let me ask, are there any members of the audience who came this evening because they were interested in 20 Franklin gosh, sorry. Oh, all right, there's a lot of people. So, how does the board wish to proceed in connection with this request to continue?
Well, I would
Well, I-
approve the continuance. I don't know if it's necessary to go into it tonight since it's going to change, but
Do you anticipate submitting any additional plans next week? Sorry, I apologize. What,
Not right now. It's possible, we'll get them in as soon as possible. But I would say not right now. No, I think we're fully prepared. We just want a few extra time just to do some calculations and make sure that the variance is necessary.
how does the board wish to proceed?
Well, traditionally, I've always voted in favor of a continuance. I know there's a lot of people here that just had to sit around and
Yeah?
listen to us for, it's only been an hour,
Feels like longer.
right? Nothing else going on in Woburn, but, yeah, I mean, traditionally, I've always voted for that.
Sure. So,
I mean, if we're not gonna deliberate it, we would like to hear what he's saying, then have the
Right.
public come up afterwards.
so let me just address the audience. So, traditionally, the board has granted motions to continue. We have set our next hearing date for February 18th.
March
I'm
18th.
sorry, it's been one of those nights, March 18th. If that date is a date that people who are interested cannot attend, I would invite you all to submit an email or a letter. So we're not really going to open the public hearing if the request for the continuance is granted. But I want to be sure that members of the public know that they have the right to appear again, or if they can't appear, to communicate with the board, via email or letter, so that whatever feedback you have is before the board at our next hearing. So, how does the board wish to proceed?
Make a motion to continue.
second.
All in favor of the pending motion?
Aye.
All right, so this matter regarding the variance request on Franklin Street is going to be continued to our hearing on March 18th. And I apologize to the members of the public who've had to sit here and listen to us, but any feedback that you have, you can provide next month, or send out via an email. And if you want to communicate with any of your concerns or questions, Attorney Giuliano represents the owner, and I'm sure he'd welcome getting your feedback.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, the next item on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes. We don't have them yet, so we'll put that off for a later date. And then finally, the last item on our agenda is any other matter that may be legally before the board. I'm not aware that there is anything, so I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are